VDM, a general-purpose version-dependency manager. VDM is an alternative to e.g. Git submodules for managing arbitrary external dependencies for the same reasons, in a more sane way. Unlike some other tools that try to solve this problem, VDM is language agnostic and can be used for any purpose that you would need remote development resources. VDM can be used for many different purposes, but most commonly as a way to track external dependencies that your own code might need, but that you don't have a language-native way to specify. Some examples might be, you have a shared CI repo from which you need to access common shell scripts, hosted build tasks, etc. You're building and testing a back-end application and need to test serving front-end code from it, and your team has that front-end code in another repository. Your team uses protocol buffers, and you need to be able to import other loose .proto files to generate your own code. VDM lets you clearly specify all those remote dependencies and more, and retrieve them whenever you need them. Getting started. Installation VDM can be installed from its GitHub releases page. There is a zipped binary for major platforms and architectures, and those are indicated in the asset file name. For example, if you have an M2 macOS laptop, you would download the VDM Darwin arm64.tar.gz file and extract it to somewhere on your path. If you have a recent version of the Go toolchain available, you can also install or run VDM using Go. Go install github.com's opensourcecorp /vdm at vivadas or go run github.com /opensourcecorp v usage. To get started, you'll need a VDM spec file, which is just a YAML or JSON file specifying all your external dependencies along with, usually, their revisions and where you want them to live on your file system. Remotes, type Git, the default, so can be omitted if desired. Remote, http://github.com /opensourcecorp specifies git at to use SSH instead. Local path-deps go common version 2.0 can also be a branch, commit hash, or latest, type file. File type assumes version is in the remote field, so version can be omitted. Remote, raw.githubusercontent.com //Google Appis master /proto local path /deps proto http.proto. You can have multiple dependency specs stored wherever you want. By default, the spec file is vdm.yaml at the calling location, probably your repo's root, but you can name it differently and point to it with spec file flag to VDM. Just run. VDM will process the spec file, retrieve dependencies as specified, and place them accordingly. By default, VDM sync removes local.git directories for each Git remote. Change versions by updating the spec file and running VDM sync again. After running VDM sync with the example spec, your directory tree would look like /vdm.common/deps go content from that repo. Dependencies. VDM is distributed as a statically linked binary per platform without language-specific dependencies, but VDM requires Git if using Git remote types. VDM checks for Git on path and fails with an informative error if not found. Auth VDM does not manage auth-n auth-z. If a remote in your spec depends on specific auth setup, SSH key, .npmrc, etc., configure the auth before VDM commands. Future work improves sync mechanism to clean up removed remotes automatically. Add -keep gitdir flag to prevent wiping gitdir for Git remotes at clone. Support more than Git and file types and enhance file support.